It's never a good day when you're in this position. Let's show you how to flat tow. What we're going to use for this is just a tow chain, a logger chain. You can also use a strap. I prefer a logger chain. So first thing we're going to do is hook it to your tow vehicle. A billion different ways you can do it. We're going to hook it around. We have actually a ball here, which is nice. We're going to hook it on, hook it there. Electrical tape or even duct tape is your friend if you don't want this to fall off and leave this vehicle just stranded. So let's wrap this up just a couple times. Doesn't do any pulling. This just kind of holds the chain in position on there so you're not left stranded. The next step is to use your smarts just like on the front and hook it to something solid. So this Expedition just happens to have beautiful tow hooks on the front. They're meant for towing, right? So same thing, I'm gonna hook my chain on itself. If you were using the yellow tow straps, you would actually hook the straps through itself. You'd hook one loop through itself onto the tow vehicle, and then you'd hook up the towing vehicle last. So electrical tape is just gonna hold it. Driver is gonna watch my hand signal as I get pulled. He's gonna pull out the slack. I'm gonna make sure I have the key in the on run position. I'm gonna make sure because I got no power steering, my steering needs to be free. I need to be in neutral, and we're just gonna flat tow. So from here, let's go. So one of the first steps is I'm in charge of actually keeping the slack in the chain. So I need to be the one that does the majority of the braking. I'm watching this chain. I'm only 12 to 15 feet from the vehicle in front of me. I have no power brakes, but when he goes to stop, I actually want to, even though I don't have brakes, I kind of want to stop both of us, especially around a turn. I'm riding the brakes hard right now as we go around the turn. That keeps the slack out of the chain. Like right now, I'm coming up to a stop. I want to stop for us, both vehicles. I'm gonna try to stop both vehicles. Because if he slows down more than I do, oh, we got a little bit of slack. Walk it up. There we go. Beautiful turn. My brakes are still riding. I'm gonna let off the brakes for a second. I'm watching that chain. I can barely see my chain. Coming up to an intersection, we're gonna turn right. I'm going to try to provide all the braking for both vehicles. I'm pushing hard as I can. I'm standing on that brake. He's just rolling. He's not touching his brakes at all. He's doing a good job. And you guys almost fell over. There we go. I'm letting off. Now we have an intersection coming up. I see that it's green. We're a quarter mile from it. We're gonna turn right though, so I'm gonna start slowing us down. A little jerky because he's coasting more than I am. I'm gonna let off the brakes a little bit. Too much jerking. That's when if you're using those straps, they really like. I'm pushing hard on those brakes. Those straps really bungee and just yank you and just really whip you. They take out some shock, but if you can keep the tension in the chain, it's a beautiful, beautiful smooth ride. I'm letting off. I'm still running about 10% brake right now. Just waiting for him to do the speed, and now I'm completely off the brake. Don't want to over coast him because I put slack in the chain and that'll jerk you. Oh, red light. Oh, we got slack. We're dragging chain, so I'm going to try to keep a gap. There we go. We eased into it. Beautiful. We got a little gap. I'm still riding my brakes, kind of going downhill. But we got a little gap. I recovered, and we're back to going. ground. I need to ride them about, you kind of need to ride them almost about 10% to keep that tension. Here comes a light coming up, so I'm going to stop for both of us. He shouldn't need to touch his brakes much at all. Slow us down. See, he hasn't touched his brakes at all. He's just coasting to keep the slack in there. That's good. And luckily we can just roll through. Swing wider, try to keep tension on that chain. You got a little bit of slack. If I undercut him, if I go way too sharp on the turn, I got less of a radius, and I'm going to put slack in there. I need to be paying attention to what not only is right in front of me, but what's in front of him. That's one of the most crucial things people mess up on. We survived. The chain didn't really drag. You don't want to drag the chain because you don't want to wear it out. And the worst thing is if these fall apart, and so the electrical tape or duct tape or even a piece of twine, anything over this just really makes the day, because nothing is worse than generally when you're in a turn or something else, or in the middle of an intersection, when there's always going to be a little bit of jerkiness, is to have this fall off and have the person behind you stranded and the vehicle in front 20 feet ahead with a chain attached to the back trying to back up in an intersection and catch up. So this is the other type of tow rope you'll commonly find, and these are more like recovery straps. They're meant to have, you know, they feel stiff, but they're meant to have spring in them. They snatch you out, so in four-wheel driving and stuff like that, you can give them a good tug and they store the energy and then launch it. And these are pretty common, but they're not that useful in towing a lot of vehicles unless there's tow hooks. You could hook this, so you could hook this one end around the ball of a truck. In this situation, I could hook it around these tow hooks. I could hook it around an axle or something, and you would just do that and cinch it up, and it's on. The nice thing about these is they don't ever really fall off. So that would be cinched up on the tow vehicle. They can be a bugger to get undone when you're done. This one's pretty dang long. The other options is, I mean, these are the standard clevis hooks that you'll find on chains. And most of the time clevis hooks just pop right out. They're just a little cotter key, pull it out, and you put a new clevis hook on. This is probably one of your best friends when you're actually towing somebody, is this big wide mouth. And you can pick this up for a couple more bucks and just keep it along with this chain, so when you go to tow, because it's virtually impossible on especially cars to hook this to anything. You don't have a hole big enough to loop the chain around to hook it back on itself. All you have is a little piece of stamped metal with a hole in it, and you need a chain that's something like this to hook on it. I'll show you on the car over here. This is what you're going to find typically on virtually every modern car. It's just a hook like this, and the tow truck drivers have this nice long hook that they can hook in there. They can hook around the axle, and it goes through. So if I have a standard tow chain with a standard clevis hook that's supposed to hook to itself, you'll find it almost impossible to get it through there, to get it to stay. You can't push it through. If you have a tow rope like this, I mean, you can't get it through there. You can't get it around anything. Another option is if you don't want to buy another clevis hook, is you can have a huge bolt with a bunch of big washers, and you can just pull that off and put a big bolt through there and just bolt the chain to. But if you buy one of these big open ends, just as an extra chain amenity, all of a sudden you can start using your chain. And now we can tow like that. We could sit there, we can just wrap some electrical tape just around here, just so it doesn't want to ever bounce off. But we could actually tow like this, or it's wide enough that I could probably hook to an engine, cross, something very substantial besides the tow hook. But the tow hook is ideally what you want to tow from. These huge clevis hooks can hook pretty much to anything. They do hook to themselves, but they act more as a noose, which is really nice. I mean, it'll work just like a noose and hook on itself. It works like a noose, or if you're going to use a nice chain to pull out trees and stumps and stuff like that, it actually cinches around versus just staying locked and it won't come off. So that's a different thing. So just another versatile thing for your chain. I prefer chain. I think it gives you a more solid feel over a recovery strap. These kind of give you a more springy, gushy, more bouncy, not a jerky, I guess, ride versus the solidness of a chain. It's more easy to lock it in. I mean, these are this is a little harsher if you do let it like slack and you go to glue it again if the person pulling versus the person being pulled is inexperienced, you know, it'll be more jerky. This will give you a little smoother ride. Personally, prefer this. Definitely don't use rope. Rope will break. It just always breaks. It just can't hold up. There's a reason why we even invented other things. Rope just doesn't hold up, and I've seen a lot of people use rope. Why? Because they're always broken down, because the rope snapped and the guy left his wife back at the intersection and just happened to turn around or back up in traffic to retrieve his wife to tie a knot in the broken rope and go. So bad idea. I guess that's it. Just remember, if you want a smooth ride, the vehicle being towed is the brakes. They do all the braking for both things. This does all the braking. The vehicle pulling is the gas pedal. Brake, gas pedal. They know the vehicle being towed probably isn't running. It doesn't have power brakes, but it still has the same amount of braking power. You just have to push hard. Put both feet on that wide pedal and you just push. And you just push and you can stop them. You're not doing more than 30, 40 you're screaming fast at 40, but you're not doing more than 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour, and you can easily stop both vehicles in rush hour traffic, whatever, in busy intersection stoplights. And as long as this one's the brake and that was the gas constantly, it'll be a beautiful, beautiful, smooth ride, and you won't care about towing anybody. So hopefully those tips help you out, guys. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.